afternoon, this is Kelsey at Anna Porter Public Library from Kels Reads Things, also known as Librarians Recommend, and I'm very excited today to be discussing with you Throne of Glass, the first installment in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. Now, for those interested, you may want to actually read the prequel first. It's recommended by Sarah J. Maas herself to read it first, and the title for that book is Assassin's Blade. And if you'd like, I will eventually review that book with you as well. So, to discuss Throne of Glass, let's first discuss the plot. Celaena Sardothien is Adarlan's most infamous assassin at only 18 years old. Or, at least she was until she was betrayed a year ago and left to rot in Endervere, known as an isolated death camp where all prisoners of Adarlan and rebels against the Clown are sentenced to their death. However, she is given a chance to regain her freedom only if she agrees to act as the crowned prince's champion in a competition to eventually win the title of King's Champion against 20 some odd other competitors who are also assassins, thieves, basically people that you may not want to tangle with. She will have to serve as the King's Champion for up to 4 years if she wins the competition and will then eventually win her freedom. Celaena agrees. However, she will soon find herself part of an even larger mission. A mission that is even darker than her past as she fights her way towards victory and free will. Da 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 da. That is the basic plot and premise of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It is very different from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, as I have discussed in the past with you, and I will be reviewing the third book with you hopefully within the next week or so. It'll all just depend. I'm also currently reading Romanoff, which is a magical retelling of Anastasia. Now I would like to spend a little bit of time discussing the characters with you and things that I liked about a book, and then I will give you my overall review. The main three characters that you should know about are Celaena Sardothien, obviously, the Crowned Prince, whose name is Dorian, and Kaol, who is the King's Royal Guard. Basically that means he is the head honcho for the king. He is the main guard, the main guy that you go to for protection. As for Celaena, she is an assassin, but I found that she was very easy to love. Some personality traits that you should know about Celaena is she is snarky, she is smart as a whip, a little bit pompous with good reason. Even though she is an assassin, she was given kind of a very good upbringing. She was exposed to lots of education and the finer things in life, so she's pompous with a good reason. She's also extremely talented with the piano and has an affinity for music and an absolute passion for it as well. She is hilarious, confident and charming, determined and very ambitious. I was impressed with how determined her personality came out to be, especially after a year of rotting away in Endervere. She never lost her spark, so to speak, or the fire inside her, so that was really awesome to read about. She's someone that you want to root for regardless of her dark past, and we will see a glimpse of that, well, even more than a glimpse, a lot of that in Assassin's Blade. And some things about her personality that I love is she's a big book lover, she's obsessed with reading, and she loves chocolate and eating in general, which I can definitely relate to. And her physical attributes is that she is blonde with teal eyes and a gold ring around her pupils. So, Prince Dorian, he is described as handsome and charming. I would say that he's confident, he's very flirtatious, he's smart, snarky, he's also a very big book reader. He prefers the scholarly sort of career path rather than a warrior's career path. He's described as having black hair and sapphire eyes. He is not exactly a fan of his princely expectations, and he's definitely a love interest of Celaena's. And finally, we have Kaol. He is very serious, but also has a heart of gold, and he is the royal guard of the King's Guard. Basically, that means he's the head honcho. He's very successful for his young age. I believe he's only 19 or 20 when the book starts. He's determined. He's not really a fan of mischief. He's serious and hardworking. He actually is Celaena's trainer. He's also loyal and also a potential interest, a love interest of Celaena. And he's described as having brown hair and brown eyes. Now I'd like to discuss the things that I really enjoyed about this first installment. I actually read it the first time, I want to say back in January or February of this year, and I unfortunately was not as big of a fan of it back then because I kept comparing it to Sarah J. Maas's other nearly completed series, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And something that you might want to keep in mind is Throne of Glass is more of an epic fantasy story, which means there's a lot to it and a lot of adventure and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, so to speak, whereas A Court of Thorns and Roses is also an epic story, but it's more focused on romance and character development. There's a lot of character development in both stories, but again, they're very different. However, there are some similar themes between them, including found families, overcoming adversity, character growth, and defeating evil forces. Something else I really enjoyed about the story was all the characters were unique, and they were really fun to read about, especially their banter back and forth. And I grew to love them even more the second time reading them. The book is actually fairly well written. Some people would disagree with me and say that her writing improves as the story unfolds. However, I honestly was pretty entertained with book one the second time I read it. And it's written in third person, whereas A Court of Thorns and Roses is in first. And typically it takes me a little bit to connect with a book if it's written in third person. But again, the second time around, it didn't take long for me to connect at all because of the way the characters are described, and honestly because of Celaena's ability to rise above and her strength. Just her overall character strength was very impressive and very amazing to read about. I thought all of the characters' relations to each other and their dialogue was really spot on, entertaining, and fun to read about. And the pacing of the story was fairly good. There was only one or few parts in which I thought it was a little bit slow, and that's typically in the middle, I have found, for nearly all books. Overall, I gave this awesome first installment a 4-star review. Again, I thought it was really well done and really put together, and Celaena is honestly a character I really rooted for. I really enjoyed her story, and I look forward to eventually reading the rest of the series again, after, of course, I read many, many more to come. I will also be doing a book review with you soon. Well, I guess I should say reviews over some audiobooks I've listened to. I realized the other day that the only audiobooks I believe I reviewed were the LGBTQ ones, so I look forward to reviewing some more with you in the future. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful Friday.